If you want to get more second interviews from your first interviews, then it's absolutely crucial you ask the right sort of questions. So in this video, I'm going to show you what type of questions you should be asking, why you should ask them, and then give you 5 examples that you can use immediately in your interviews so you can impress the company and win that job. Hi, if you're here for the first time, my name is Matt Dodgson and I'm a co-founder of Market Recruitment. We want to help accelerate your career in B2B marketing, either by helping you secure the job of your dreams or helping you build that amazing team. So what's the difference between the right question to ask in your interview and the wrong question? And there's a simple answer to this. The right question focuses on the company's need, and the wrong question focuses on your need. Now, before we get into the detail of those questions, I think it's important for anybody looking for a new job to get into the right mindset for interviews. And I'll just be blunt and give it to you lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels. The right mindset is this: what you want is irrelevant. Yep, that's right. What you want is irrelevant. Now, between you and I, we obviously know that's not the case. If you're searching for a new B2B marketing job, then what you want is, of course, the most important thing. But what I'm talking about here is the mindset. Because if you can start to operate with the right attitude, basically that what the company wants is the most important thing, then I guarantee you'll start to see some amazing results. Because if you think about it, the reason you're in the interview in the first place is because the company has a problem. That problem could be that they need someone to generate more leads. It could be that they need someone to improve their content. Maybe their online presence needs a rework. Whatever it might be, that problem is the sole reason that you're there in the first place. And you being there has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you want to learn more, that you want to be promoted within 18 months, or be able to work from home 1 day a week. Now, I'm not going to say that isn't important, and I'm also not saying that you don't need to know that kind of stuff up front, because you definitely do. We all spend a huge amount of time in work, and you as a job seeker need to know if you're going to get what you want out of it. Ultimately though, your objective of a first interview is to get a second interview, because at least then you have the choice about whether or not to take it forward or not. And in order to get a second interview, you need to address the needs of the company you're interviewing for. And that brings me back to the only type of question you need to ask. The only type of question you need to ask is orientated around demonstrating your ability to solve their problem. So, what are some examples of questions that you shouldn't ask? Well, it could be, why do you like working here? What's the training like? How easy is it to advance my career here? Do you offer flexibility? What's the growth plan of the company? Now, don't get me wrong, those questions are all valid. And like I said before, I think you do need answers to those sorts of questions at some point throughout the interview process. But those me-orientated questions should not be asked at a first interview. So, what questions should you ask? Well, let me give you 5 examples of those. But before I do, it's important to talk to you about what I call the QAR technique, to give you a bit more context for how these questions should go. So here's an example of the technique in action. Question: what's the biggest challenge in this role? Answer: to be honest, we need to work on our relationship with the sales team because at the moment we're just not joined up enough. Response: okay, it's interesting you say that because in my last company we had a very similar issue. Basically, marketing and sales did their own thing and leads were falling through the cracks. So when I was hired, it was my #1 priority to sort this out. And when I started in the job, I organised joint meetings every quarter, with the initial one being around setting the ground rules, something that we asked for the sales team for their input on too. Things like defining what a lead was. So it became a joint plan and they had ownership of it too. Then every quarter I'd go and present at their sales team meeting and tell them what was coming up, and I could also address any issues face to face. And after 6 months or so, we saw a huge increase in the conversion of MQLs to SQLs, and our turnover went up by 30% quarter on quarter. So if that's the biggest challenge, then I feel I definitely have the experience to help you with that quickly. Now I'm sure you get the technique here, but what you're doing is you're asking a question that then gives you an opportunity to back up why you're the right person for the job. If you find yourself getting into a situation where it's a question from you, an answer from the client, a question from you, an answer from the company, then you'll know the questions aren't quite right. Another way of thinking about this is approaching the interview as if you were a consultant, which as a B2B marketer you kind of are, except you're on the payroll obviously. And a consultant would approach a project by understanding in detail what the client was looking for, by asking lots of questions about the brief, and then telling the client why they can help them. And a good interview should follow this pattern too. You, Mr. Client, have a problem or some goals you want to achieve. Let me find out about those, and then let me tell you why I can sort them for you. So, what would be the 5 best questions I'd recommend? Well, here's my list, but feel free to suggest any other questions in the comments below. It would be great to hear your take on it too. So the first one is the one we used above. What's the biggest challenge of this job? And this is a great question because it gives you an idea of what needs fixing, but also if you can convince them that you can do the hardest bit of the job, then you can obviously do everything else. Okay, the next one is, fast forward 12 months, what does success look like in this role to you? This is a little beauty because it gets to the heart of the focus of the role and basically how you'll be defined. Question 3 is, so out of all the things on this job description, what's working and what needs fixing? Again, you're getting to the heart of where the problems lie in this job. In B2B marketing, there's normally some issue or something that needs fixing. And if you can convince them that your ability to fix those things, then the job will be yours. From what you've heard so far, do you have any concerns about me being a success in this role? Wow, now this is a direct one, but it certainly will put your interviewer on the spot and will also give you a chance to address any concerns that they've got. Now those questions are fairly heavy. They don't need to be like that. It could be as simple as, what's your content strategy, or how do you currently go about getting leads? What sort of technology tools do you use? Those are all good questions too, because you're probing to find out more, giving then you the great opportunity to talk about your experience and your relevance. So that's my 5 questions. What did you think of them? Feel free to drop me a comment below and I'll answer every single comment personally. And if you have some really good questions too, I'm sure the audience would love to hear from them. So again, drop them in the comment section below so everybody can benefit from them. And remember, these are first interview questions. They're designed to give you the opportunity to discuss your experience so that you leave the interview with no doubt that you should be in the shortlist for the second interview. So, I hope that was useful. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, please subscribe, and also hit the bell so you're notified of when our next video lands. We've got a ton more videos in the pipeline, so I wouldn't want you to miss out. Thanks for listening and speak soon.